The Overcomers series, Season 3, is brought to you by Jonil Alcock, MBF Group Limited, Scripture Trinkets by AP. We see each other many times by our titles, careers, or how we look physically. But behind each face, there's a story to tell about triumph over trial. We can also learn how God has brought us to where we are by His supreme grace and goodness. Let's explore the lives and testimonies of some amazing humans on the Overcomers series. This week on the Overcomers series. Good night, viewers, and welcome to another episode of the Overcomers series. And I have a very brilliant guest beside me tonight. She is the very brilliant Kalilah Reynolds. And yeah, she's so excited to be here. We were supposed to speak for quite a while now, and we just got a chance to meet and just start to talk about some things that the viewers may need to hear. How are you doing, Kalilah?
I am great. I'm so happy to be here. And you're right, you did invite me a while ago, and I had to make space and time for you, Johnny.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Kalilah. So, the first thing I want to know is to tell the viewers about yourself. Obviously, I know you, but tell everybody, who is Kalilah Reynolds?
Okay, so I am a journalist and entrepreneur professionally. At home, I'm mom, wife, and other things. Cook, head bottle washer, entertainment consultant, all these things to the kids. But professionally, you guys know me as a journalist and entrepreneur, CEO of Kalilah Reynolds Media. I've been in media for over 20 years now, broadcasting, particular radio, TV, and in the past about 7 years or so, I've specialized in financial journalism. And then that eventually transitioned into becoming a full-time content creator, owner of Kalilah Reynolds Media, and just trying to educate people in general about business and finance.
You did do a lot of work in relation to business journalism before you started doing Kalilah Ray Media work, which you're now doing. Can you give the viewers a kind of an idea of how the idea of Kalilah Ray Media began and how it led from wanting doing things for others and now doing things for yourself?
So it just started out as me trying to help people really on social media. Partly because at the time, this was probably around 2018 when I started investing. 2017, 2018, I started investing. And there wasn't a lot of information out there for investors on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I was looking for information to help myself, and I couldn't really find anything that was easy to understand, that was accessible, that was written in a way that doesn't involve all the jargon, could reach the average person. And so I started writing those stories for the news where I worked, but the stories weren't really getting picked up by the news station because they're not sexy enough. You're competing in mainstream media with the crime, with the politics, with all these other things that are going on. Sports, huge in Jamaica. All these other things that are going on is kind of hard to get a business story to get attention. And so I started putting the content on my social media instead because I knew that people wanted the information, and it started getting a lot of reaction and a lot of comments, and people were sharing it a lot and saying, man, we need more stuff like this. So I came up with the idea to do Taking Stock, which is my YouTube show, and really get even deeper into investing and what's going on in the markets now. So wanted it to be a current affairs business program. Pitched that to television stations. Nobody really was interested. They started, they wanted to give me a Sunday morning slot, which they were charging me an arm and a leg to put it on, and it just didn't make sense. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to take this to YouTube, register my company, and I'm going to do it all myself. And that's kind of how that came about. And there was a lot of pessimism from people in the industry who said you'll never succeed just on YouTube. You're not going to get the sponsorship. You're not going to generate the revenue that you need to pay for the show. And 3 years later, here we still are. and the show is still going strong. It still has heavy interest from viewers and growing, and it has great advertising support.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate all of that what you just told me, because you see, there are some persons who are trying similar things. They're trying to create something for themselves. The pandemic started, and that went slap dab into your first year in business, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And it was around there that you really started to get serious to do your own thing. But you were already doing business journalism as an experienced journalist for years.
Mhm.
So, how is it that persons who maybe don't have as much experience as you can think of ways to generate their idea and put it out there into the atmosphere?
Well, I have experience in a particular area, but you may have experience in something completely different. Your experience could be in cooking. You may have 10, 15, 20 years experience in the cooking industry, in the food industry, which I don't have, you know. You may have a lot of experience in animation or art or something completely different that's just your thing. So the challenge sometimes is figuring out what your thing is, especially when you're young and you're kind of feeling your way around. Because I didn't grow up thinking that I'm going to grow up to be a finance content creator or a financial journalist at all. I grew up saying I wanted to be a writer. You know, I wanted to write stories and be the next great Caribbean novelist and write stories for children and even adults and just make people feel happy through literature. And that's evolved into journalism, which eventually evolved into financial journalism, which eventually evolved into doing it online as a content creator. And so, you know, with time, you start figuring out what it is you want to do and what it is that you're good at and what it is people will pay you to do. And it's where those three things intersect: what you want to do, what you're good at, and what people will pay you to do. Where those intersect, that is the greatest opportunity for you to really earn a living and create a promising career, you know, that can sustain you for the future. Because when you're young and idealistic, going into a low paying job is, I mean, oh, I'm just going to do something that I love, right? When I studied journalism, that was my thought. I love being a journalist, and I still do. But eventually, when you realize, okay, this ain't really paying the bills or giving me the lifestyle that I want, you have to start figuring out, okay, how do I level up? How do I do something that meets both criteria or all three criteria? Something that I like, something that I'm good at, and something that people will pay me to do. And, you know, find the intersection of those three. And it can be in whatever area. And if you're young, eventually you'll find it. Just start experimenting with different things and see where it leads you.
I agree. Um, and as we segue into the first break, that's basically many persons' life who have found some way into entrepreneurship. Because, of course, the Overcomer series that you are watching right now, viewers, is me being a marketer by day, but also doing a lot of things in community as somebody at church. So I wanted to find a way to bring things that people would want to know about life and facing challenges. And that's how the program was born. So something you like, something that you're passionate about, but also something you know that will bring some sort of revenue to you to assist both yourself and your community. So thank you,
Something you
Kalilah.
like, something you're good at,
You're good at, yes.
yeah, and something that people will pay you to do.
Right. Good at is very important because obviously Kalilah was experienced in media. Obviously, I know a little bit of speaking and talking about things in relation to life. And that's how we started to do some of these things. So you can do it too. Stay tuned as we get to the next part of this program. But watch out for these sponsors in a quick minute. Reach out to MBF Group Limited, owners and operators of Ferron's exquisite photo studio and business services for all your photography and videography needs. They're the best for your weddings, graduations, and funerals. They also design and print business cards, flyers, invitations, and personalized items such as t-shirts, cups, and logo stitches. Reach out to Marshala Brown Ferron on 876-327-8912. Thank you, viewers, for still staying in tune with us. And I have beside me the beautiful and brilliant Kalilah Reynolds of Kalilah Reynolds Media. And she has been giving us some very important information about how it is that she started her business and some of the things that she does online as well as in media as a business journalist. So, one of the things that we were talking about was how your business formed. Can you give us a little bit more information by delving into the business now? So, give our viewers maybe three of the toughest business decisions you had to make and use it to kind of tell them how they can maneuver the business landscape and still do something good.
Mm. So one of them was when we were starting, and I don't even know that it was that tough. It was a no-brainer to me. I didn't even think about it much until now that I reflect on it. I'm like, man, I took a risk, but at the time it didn't seem like a risk because I believed in myself that much. And that was when I needed to shoot the pilot for taking stock. So when I pitched the concept to the TV stations, they said, okay, business show, that sounds boring, but shoot a pilot. Now, shooting a pilot for a TV show is expensive because now you need to rent studio space. You need a camera operator, and you need to rent equipment and lighting and audio and all this stuff. I need a professional editor. I mean, I could edit, but for the length of the show that I wanted, I needed a professional to take care of that, and all of that would have come up to probably about $200,000, and I didn't have $200,000 lying around at the time, so I don't even remember how I paid for it. I probably put it on a credit card. Well, for the editor, I would have had to pay that in cash. So I probably had that much at least in savings. But the studio, I remember we shot at PBCJ, and I think I paid it on a credit card. And now in hindsight, I realized that was a risk, especially since the TV stations didn't pick up my show. And now I have this expense and I have no guarantee of income of how I'm going to pay this back. And, but it's something that at the time didn't seem like a huge risk to me. And fortunately, it paid off because I found another way to make it work. And that's the thing. When you hear no sometimes, no is not necessarily the end. No just means that you have to find another way. And no is when you start getting creative. When you hear no, you start thinking, okay, how can I achieve this thing? My objective was to get information out to the people, and television wasn't the only medium available. Fortunately, we have media available now, such as social media, YouTube, Facebook. There's so many platforms that you can host your show on now. If this is a business that you want to get into, you just have to start getting creative. And then when it comes to having a program on YouTube, you mentioned, I heard you throw to your sponsors earlier, YouTube has specific rules about how you can deal with advertising and sponsorship. So you have to get creative with how you're going to work within the boundaries that YouTube sets. You can't run your traditional 30-second, 60-second ad like you would on television because it violates YouTube's rules. So you have to figure out, okay, how can I offer value to people who are going to support my show in exchange for their money? And so in whatever you're doing, you have to think, how can I offer value to my clients, right? If you are baking cakes, how can I offer the best value to the person? Because they can go to so many other people. Many people bake cakes. Many people do what I do. Many people have shows, maybe not the specific type of show that I have, but it's in finding the value, which is that's how you're actually going to generate a following and generate income. So that was one, figuring out how I'm going to make the show sustainable and investing in it early on, taking that loan because a credit card is a loan. And then two was in managing people. So I started out me one, doing everything, right? And a lot of people start out that way with your business. You are going to be the jack of all trades. You're the face of the brand. You're doing the marketing. You're doing the accounting. You're doing Googling stuff for legal. You are writing your own scripts. You're your own videographer. You're doing your audio. Everything you have to do. I was doing the editing as well myself for most of the stuff. And eventually, as the business starts growing and you want to take on additional opportunities, you do have to start hiring. And that is tricky. That's something that I'm still learning, managing people and setting expectations, because I do so much for the business that I expect that anybody I hire is going to be doing all these million things as well. you know and I was doing it early on. I wasn't really getting paid little to nothing. And so you kind of expect that, but I used to do this, so why can't you do it? But it's not the same when you're a founder of the business as opposed to hiring an employee. You can't have the same expectations of them that you have of yourself. So you really have to manage expectations on both ends. And you also have to speak up. So I am a person, my personality is kind of non-confrontational. If there's something I don't like, I don't really like ruffling feathers. I don't want to make anybody feel bad. But then if the work isn't done to your standard, you have to let the person know that the work isn't done to your standard. And you can't let, resentment build up for a long time because this person isn't doing the work how you want them to do the work, and then you have to go in behind them and do it how you want it. Then you're giving yourself extra work rather than just having that conversation up front and telling the person, this is how you do it the correct way. Avoiding confrontation cannot work when you are a business owner. You have to have uncomfortable conversations. It's something that I'm still learning, and is a big lesson in business. So those are two that I can think of off the bat. You said three. I have to think about it a little bit more before I can give you the third.
That's okay, because you have given me quite, and the viewers, please, anybody who has any questions, please shoot them in the comments. And remember to share this with your friends on your WhatsApp and even on your Facebook page, because we can always go in and make the comments and assist you with wherever you are. But you've given us so much food for thought, because when persons are starting something entrepreneurial based, they they always think about the monetary factor, the resources, which you touched on, right? And we may not have what we think we need to do it, but if you have the idea and you think it's feasible, most persons who have achieved something teach us a lesson that you just start wherever you are with whatever you have, and you'd be
Exactly.
surprised by the result. The other thing you mentioned was confrontation, as well as how persons view work. So persons who are very industrious, have a good work ethic, are entrepreneurial, tend to hire people, which you eventually did. But maybe they don't have the same passion as you, or maybe they need more training.
Right.
Maybe they require some sort of skill set adaptation, which entrepreneurial people tend to always have. They always can search for something, and even if they don't know how to do it, they will do it. So, you viewers, if you are thinking of trying to find ways to build businesses, these are things you have to consider. Did you get to your third
Yes.
decision as yet?
So the third one would be shameless. Be
Whoa!
shameless in promoting yourself. Listen, when TV stations are promoting a program, right, you're going to see the same ad a million times, the same promo, the same teaser a million times. Even a product like Doritos, how many times have you seen the same Doritos ad? Yet we always feel that we need to come with something new every time. You don't need to come with something new every time. Just shamelessly promote the same thing over and over and over. Tell people the same message over and over and over. How many times you're gonna hear me say, "Let's get this money"? How many times you're gonna hear me say, "Investing for Beginners Masterclass" at KalilahReynolds.com/masterclass"? How many times you're gonna hear me say, "Watch taking stock"? I'm gonna beat you over the head with the same message, and attached to that is being authentic. So there are many times when I am, scripting something, or I come up with this idea and I think, that's too crazy. People not gonna like that. or that makes me seem vulnerable and I don't really want to show people that side of myself. And let me tell you, those posts are always the ones that do the best. Those ones where I'm just myself, my crazy old weird self, or where I'm revealing something that I kind of maybe was reluctant to reveal. Those are the ones that always perform the best. So just be yourself, be authentic, and don't be afraid. Be shameless about it. Be shameless about who you are, because it's who you are, and be shameless about promoting yourself, your brand, your company, whatever it is that you're trying to get out there.
I agree. I am on multiple platforms, as is Kalilah. And one thing that is true, as she has said, is sometimes you overthink what you're posting or what you're doing. Because as she says, sometimes it is just the silly kind of authentic things you do that tend to generate more views, generate more interest, get more excitement. And I can give you examples because I just came to interview Kalilah, and before I came here, I saw one of her ads. And it was about something that we're going to talk about soon, which is her masterclass, which obviously we're going to put a plug in here. Look, that is what we do. When I was doing stuff online, I did all sorts of weird things and give jokes and stuff like that. And some of those things are trending more than the more serious type of videos where I'm talking about things in relation to life. So please, guys, don't overthink it. The important thing is to be consistent.
Yes.
Post. She can tell you because she posts almost 2-3 times every day. Post consistently. Keep your content to a good enough level, but don't be worried or ashamed that if you put something out, you're gonna get some negative comments. You will always have that. That is the internet,
Mhm.
or it won't be as good as it can be. Just be your authentic self, be consistent, continue to promote the things that you want people to know of that will bring in revenue for your company. And you will start to do some great things.
Scripture Trinkets by AP for all your unique tokens and gifts. Check out our line of car trinkets, keyring trinkets, fridge magnets, Christmas ornaments, custom trinkets and plaques, and much more. Go ahead, pick the perfect gift and share the word boldly.
But the other thing which struck me is that you you were working with some other entities before now. Can I call these entities names?
Sure.
Yeah, right. Well, you can. Tell them the entities you used to work with before you formed Kalilah Reynolds Media.
Well, just before I branched out on my own, I was at Nationwide News Network, which was for 6 years. Before that, I was at Scene TV, which is an affiliate of Sportsmax TV. They broadcasted Diaspora. Before that, I was at CVM TV for a couple of years as a reporter. Also worked at Business Access TV. Uh, Early in my career, I was at RE TV for a while, Hype TV for a while. And before that, I was in Belize where I worked at Creme Television and Radio and also More FM. So, yeah, I've been around the block in media.
Right. So all these different avenues, some cable TV, some normal TV channels for the different places you've been in Belize as well as Jamaica, capitulated to you now forming your own media group and doing things. So guys, whatever it is that you're doing, know that you may start in small or you may be doing something for others. But if you have a business idea or a concept, you can always use that information that you're gaining, which you think is just a small fry thing, and eventually you become something important out there as well. The other thing that
Let
struck
me
me,
show you where I started, Johnny.
sorry,
This is how I started, just a cell phone and me. And let me show you where we are now. The studio is kind of messy, but you'll get the picture. So here is the studio. That's the Taking Stock studio. The
and
light
as you
there, they're
can see,
clear
it's
because
got
of the
all the
light.
different
And
elements
I have
and TV and thing
my
in there.
studio here. We have,
Yeah,
yeah,
all
yeah,
sorts of wardrobe changes and
yeah,
all sorts of LED
it's a whole
light.
thing.
Yeah.
Microphone, lights. I didn't even show you the lights or lights up in the ceiling. Yeah, man. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Exactly, as that rapper would say. And you guys always have this information in your head, which gives you two or three wrong thinkings. Either that you're not good enough, which is wrong, or that you're an imposter. I know people who have less, capabilities and abilities than some people that I have seen. More, sorry, capabilities or abilities than people have seen um, online doing stuff, and they're making something out of it because you unfortunately believe that you're not good enough. But please, guys, whatever you are capable of doing and you have an idea, especially during this time where the economy, we'll get into that in our next segment, is so turbulent and where there's so many things going on that you have to find a way to increase your revenue, increase your income. You can do it by whatever capability you have, putting in a bit of your authentic self and figuring out ways to go online or go out into the offline world and promote yourself and your business. So thank you so much, Kalilah. We have to go into another commercial break. And as we go into it, give them your favorite phrase.
Let's
Give them your
get
favorite
this
phrase.
money.
Ah, so come.
I just turned 40, and here are 5 money lessons I wish I knew much sooner. I'm Kalilah Reynolds, financial journalist and educator. Number 1, you can never work your way to wealth, no matter how much money you actually make while you're working. Have you ever seen how athletes and entertainers, many of them go broke immediately after they stop working? That's because they haven't accumulated wealth. They've only accumulated a large amount of money, riches. But you cannot work your way to wealth if your money isn't actually working for you. As long as you're exchanging your time for money, that is not real wealth. Number 2 is also related. It's very difficult for you to save your way to wealth. It is going to take decades for that money to compound enough for you to actually become wealthy and live off just the proceeds of the income that your money actually makes you. And actually, if you are saving anything beyond your emergency fund, you're actually saving too much. Why? Inflation is eating away at your savings. In savings, you only get a tiny amount of interest, but inflation is much higher than that. Things cost more and more every single year. And if you're saving, if you're saving too much, you're actually losing money to inflation. Which brings me to number 3. In order to beat inflation, you have to actually put your money to work for you. Your money has to go out there and have some babies and bring you some more money. And you do that by investing. And that brings me now to number 4. The key to wealth is actually one word: ownership. You have got to own assets that are going to increase in value over time. These can include property. These can include stocks and bonds and other financial instruments. It can also include owning businesses. Ownership is the key. Which brings me to number 5. And this is probably the biggest money lesson that I've learned in my 40 years. Your greatest financial asset is actually your mind, your intellectual property, all the things that your mind can produce. Your creativity can get you out of any money situation. It can make you rich or keep you poor. And because your mind is so important, such a valuable asset, you have to continuously invest in it by feeding your mind things that are going to help you make more money and be successful in life. Let's get this money. And then you just constantly have to think of different products and innovate. How can I grow this thing so I can either get more customers for the one thing that I have, or get more products so that we have different people buying different things. So that's why now we have the masterclass, which was a solution to a problem. And let me tell you this, everything that I've created has been a solution to a problem. So it didn't just come out of nowhere. Yes, there was the element of me wanting to make some money, but that was secondary. What came first in each instance was solving a problem. So Money Mondays was me putting out information there that people needed. Taking Stock was putting out even more information that people needed, and getting the analysts involved, because I'm like, well, I don't have this expertise. I am not an investment analyst, although people think I am. I'm a journalist. But I would love to have analysts on my show who could give you the information. So that was another product, and solving a problem that people weren't getting enough information. And then the masterclass was the same thing, solving a problem, because people kept DMing me, and they still do, saying, how do I start investing? It's like the most common question I get. And rather than me just keep typing the same thing over and over, repeating myself now I just direct them to the class, So I created a product that people needed, and that's brought in revenue.
Join us next week for another inspiring and thought-provoking discussion. And remember, you are an overcomer because Jesus said, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world."